Sled gives you cardio while being arguably the most effective natural knee pain therapy. And if you have excess weight, that makes it even easier to move the sled. So somebody's sitting there thinking, I'm way too overweight, I can't push the sled. Actually, that's going to benefit you in the sled push. Yeah. Whereas with most other cardio, your excess weight makes the exercise more difficult and more injurious. I don't think that's a word. Sled is fundamentally safer than running or lifting weights. You have less impact, but greater exertion and adaptation to more athletic and bulletproof. That's a huge point right there. Because really, if you are way overweight and you say, I'm going to go jog a mile, you are setting yourself up for big time pain, injury.
That's right.
But the sled is low impact. Tyler, if you were going to stereotype a sled push or pull, if you're not watching on YouTube, we got new microphone stands, and Ty's having a heck of a time here figuring this out. You got it?
We'll see.
We good? It'll probably drop again.
It's got that lip noodle thing where it just
If you were to go back to my question, if you were going to stereotype the type of person who would do a sled push or sled pull, where does your mind go first? Who do you think of that would perform that type of exercise?
I think like a football player. I think of strongman.
Yeah. See, we didn't even practice this. That's exactly what I would have said.
Yep.
Is because I think back, we were playing ball. That was either A, punishment, or B, that was your whole off season.
Sleds.
Pushing the freaking sled. We used to do this thing called sled suicides, which is as horrible as it sounds. You'd have a certain amount of weight, you'd go down and back. They'd take off a certain amount of weight, you go down and back, take off more, and you had to no rest in between. I mean, throw up inducing for sure.
Yeah.
So that's where your mind goes typically when you think of a sled. You think of these big, strong, muscled up meatheads.
Yeah.
Pushing it around.
Yeah.
But the reality is, as our friend Kneesovertoesguy Ben Patrick has championed the last few years, is that it's great for your 75-year-old grandmother. It's great for your 10-year-old, 8-year-old son, and anybody in between, depending on how you approach it. And so he actually wrote an article recently highlighting the 7 benefits from his perspective, from years of using the sled, the 7 benefits of the sled exercise. But before we jump into this, when you think of the sled and its benefits, because you've have a long history with it, as I do, what do you think of when you think about the sled?
So I think of sled, I associate that with power, like horsepower, right? Like that's what, when I used to push sleds, that's what it was. It was like, all right, I'm going to get explosive and strong, and I'm going to be able to push heavy. Because remember, before it was sleds, it was like you'd push your mom's minivan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, like in the parking lot. We used to do that all the time.
Do you remember the name Joe DeFranco? Does that ring a bell? That's what Joe DeFranco is an old school strength coach.
He's a Jersey guy, right?
Yeah, Jersey.
I think he trained like Cushing and those guys.
JJ Watt.
Yeah.
But that's what I think. I think of heavy car pushes, tire flips.
Yeah, like the strongman competitions back in the day, the world's strongest man stuff, like they'd like pull the big rigs.
Yes.
And they'd like have the rope.
Or
and
deadlift a car.
Yeah. So I just, that's kind of what I associate with it. But I think as we are evolving our knowledge of overall fitness and wellness, I mean, I think that mindset's changing for sure.
Well, and that's the thing about the fitness industry. Strength training in general scares people away. Yeah. Because you think of injuries, you think of muscle, so the general population tends to stay away from it.
You mean you do bench press once, you look like a bodybuilder as most women? Like, this is a conversation I have all the time. Like you said, like we've evolved so much in our knowledge of like just the physical science. And it's so funny because how many people and I hate to stereotype this, but you started the conversation off with stereotypes.
I love stereotypes.
I'm going to keep stereotyping people.
That's all I do is stereotype.
Is like my wife's like, no, I'm not lifting weights. Ew. I don't want to. Ew. Yeah, ew. Like, I don't want to look like a man. It's like, trust me. if you lifted as hard as you physically could for the next 5 years every day, you would still not look like a man.
No.
Unless you're supplementing with like
growth hormone.
Yeah, growth hormones,
steroids, all the above.
So it's like the misconception, and now she's doing CrossFit, right? And she's a year in
180.
Yeah, and she's like never felt more comfortable in her skin.
That's awesome.
Than when she does right now.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when I was in the gym, when I was in the fitness industry, that was the biggest. I don't want to lift. I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah, I'm just going to get on the...
I want to tone. That was always the phrase. I want to tone. I don't want to get bulky. And the conversation is exactly what you're saying. Like, trust me. So anyway, this list, these 7 benefits that he goes through is going to convince, no matter who you are listening to this right now, it's going to convince you, I've got to go out and I've got to get me a sled immediately. Or I've got to find a gym that has one.
Yep.
Benefit number 1. This is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of a lot of people's training. Benefit number 1, rebuild from the ground up. When you start out intentionally pushing the sled, you load and mobilize your big toes, feet, and ankles. Foot problems have reached epidemic levels because our feet lack the ability to handle the demands placed upon them. Pushing the sled helps reverse these issues.
So to your point, one of my really, really close friends is in the foot and ankle medical device space.
Oh, wow. That's very specific.
Yeah. Well, so there is like, there's knees, like if you're in like you work for Stryker or you work for Wright Medical or some of these like that make devices that are implanted into humans, screws, knee replacements, ankle replacements, all those things. Well, there's like foot and ankle, there's knee and hip usually kind of go together.
Yeah.
And then you've got spine, and then you've got like the soft tissue stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But foot and ankle, and he is busier than ever because we just don't have the strength and stability in our feet that we should, because one, we're walking in designer shoes,
pillows for your feet,
right? So that you're not actually like using your feet. And then, I know like women in high heels, right? There's so many, I don't know post-pandemic what this has been like, but to the point is he's seeing it too, full ankle replacements. I know bunions is a big thing that he does, that they do surgery there, but like the weakness that we have in our feet is translating into the OR.
Right. Yeah. No, it's highly, it's been a long time since I've taken anatomy, but tons of muscles in your feet. Tons of bones in your feet, ankles below the knee as well. And it's an often either we're sitting down all day, or when we train, a lot of the things we train are with flat feet on both feet.
Yeah.
It's rare that we challenge the musculature of our feet.
Yeah.
And that's what the sled does. Just try to push a sled.
Yeah.
Your feet will be on fire in a good way.
Yeah.
Because those muscles, those little stability muscles are working for the first time. So that's number 1. Number 2, knee health, like we just talked about. Charles Poliquin strength trained the most Olympic medalist ever, and he used daily backward sled dragging when Olympic hopefuls reached out to him with limited time and major knee problems. The same foundation that generated outlier Olympic results is generating outlier knee results for people of all ages and all walks of life. I think, and again, these are Knees Over Toes guy. These are his words. He's trained, I think, in the thousands at this point, people in their knee rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And every single person does sleds to start the workout. And he attributes a lot of his progress, a lot of people's progress to the sled pull starting each workout.
Yeah. So when I was in Chicago, there's a training facility, the Poliquin Group. So it's one of Charles Poliquin's, it's his methodology used in this, and it's one of his facilities. But I didn't even think about that. But I remember like literally we do sleds almost every day, some sort of sled work every day, whether it's lateral, whether it's reverse, whether I was just like, oh, they're doing it because we're football players. But like now, understanding his methodology behind it.
Well, that's the great thing about sled. He didn't put this on here, but it's the best way to phrase it. It's stressful, but it doesn't stress your muscles in a way that makes you super sore.
Yeah.
You can recover quickly from the sled. That's why you are able to do it every single. If it was because there's a phase of a lift. It's called the eccentric phase. Basically, think of a squat or think of a barbell bicep curl.
Yeah.
The lowering of the bar to your hips, that's called the eccentric phase. That's really where your muscle tearing really happens. The most of the stress happens. You don't get that with the sled.
Yeah.
And so it makes the sled, even though it's demanding, even though it's stressful, it doesn't knock you out. You don't have to have a bunch of days in between.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to crush you like that.
And question, is it just because the movement is not as big, so the steps are not as big?
Right. That's part of it.
So you're not elongating or stretching the muscle.
You're not stretching. Yeah, eccentric, another way to think of it is stretching the muscle. You're not doing that. It's all concentric.
Okay.
Contractions.
You making up words now?
Yeah, you're challenging me right now.
I just blacked out. I don't know what happened.
So that's number 2. Number 3, again, like I opened at the suicides, cardio, improved cardio. Yeah. Sled gives you cardio while being arguably the most effective natural knee pain therapy. And if you have excess weight, that makes it even easier to move the sled. So somebody's sitting there thinking, I'm way too overweight, I can't push the sled. Actually, that's going to benefit you in the sled push. Yeah. Whereas with most other cardio, your excess weight makes the exercise more difficult and more injurious. I don't think that's a word. Sled is fundamentally safer than running or lifting weights. You have less impact, but greater exertion and adaptation to more athletic and bulletproof. That's a huge point right there. Because really, if you are way overweight and you say, I'm going to go jog a mile, you are setting yourself up for big time pain, injury.
That's right.
But the sled is low impact. Swimming's low. Like it's up there with swimming and biking as low impact. But I would argue that's even better, because it's stressing.
Because you're using your weight, right? From a momentum standpoint. Think physics, right? If you are a larger number when it comes to your weight, and if you're leaning one direction, right, an object in motion stays in motion, right? So if you're using that leverage and using your body weight, it does move that relative to your body weight. It does move it easier. So if, say, you're 300 pounds and I've got a 100-pound sled, that's a third of your body weight, as opposed to somebody that's 150 pounds, that's 75% of their body for whatever the math works out to be.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So yes, you're using your weight to your advantage, and it's a much lower impact on you than saying, all right, I'm going to go run now based off of my lean body mass, right? Now I'm carrying this much excess weight, and it's just that much harder to carry.
Number 4, hormones. Sled likely releases more growth hormone than any other exercise, but you also get a feeling of accomplishment afterwards. People get happier and feel more confident after the sled. The second part of that is more anecdotal, but I do agree with
I don't know. I
do agree with them.
I'm going to be honest. Yeah. You go.
I was going to say, the first part is true because of how much muscle mass is involved in the exercise. Your legs, that's where most of your muscle mass is, in your legs.
Yeah.
And so it does release more growth hormone because of the stress that you're outputting by doing the exercise. The second part, it just makes you feel good. I actually agree with that. After pushing the sled, again, I'm not saying that's science. I'm just saying push the sled 3 or 4 times. Yeah, maybe the immediate feeling is not so happy.
Yeah.
But it's that runner's high. It gives me that high of cardio.
Yeah.
At least for me. And that sense of accomplishment, like, man, that was way tougher than, go out and jog and whatever.
Yeah. So here's my thing is, I think that whole statement, and I think that the guy that wrote this article, Kneesovertoesguy, Ben's awesome.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff. Mm-hmm. I think he probably, I haven't heard the last 3, but I think he probably should have just gone into 6 points right there.
Left that one out.
I think that one is all anecdotal, and I'd love to see the science that backs that up.
Yeah.
Because I've also heard that squats releases more testosterone, more human growth hormone than anything else. Literally, dude. And the reason I say this is because I bought into this. I was this 18-year-old, and my strength coach at Fresno State said, if you do 20 reps squats at 85% of your max once a week, that's better than taking HGH, better than taking steroids, because it releases more hormones than anything else. And I'm like, dude, I'm all in. You know what it gave me? It gave me a hurt back, is what it gave me. Because at 85% doing 20 reps in a row is stupid.
Yeah.
So again, like you hear all these things. I'd love to see the science behind that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's 100% right. I agree with you. The second half, 100% is his opinion. It's really hard to test that. Like, I feel more accomplished. Well, guess what, bro? If I run a mile and I've never run a mile, I'm gonna feel really dang good about that.
Sure. Yeah. He's trying to sell the sled here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more muscles are having to work, the more stress it's putting on your body, which is going to induce that hormone release.
Right.
So that is true. And your coach was kind of right. He wasn't right. He was being too simplified. He was simplifying it down too much.
This dude don't if those words ever come out of your mouth again.
But the concept of squats being really great hormonally, that is true.
Yeah.
But for him
read that in the 1986 Arnold Schwarzenegger book of bodybuilding, by the way.
Yeah. Well, let's fly through these last three. Number 5, glutes. Again,
glutes.
Kind of anecdotal, sort of. When you push the sled forward, you use your glutes. There's no doubt that the miles and miles of loaded sled driving each year add to your glute results. So, ladies, I'm looking right in this camera. We'll put this camera up. This one right here. Ladies, you need the sled. We don't want any flat booty. Well, let's not get too crazy here.
Flat
dudes. I'm looking at you too, because I'm an equal opportunity glutist.
Nothing looks worse.
I'm not a sexist glutist. Men need glutes too.
Yeah, nothing looks worse than an inverted backside. Guys, come on.
You know the guys that like their back just leads right to the back of their knees,
the hamstrings,
just no ass at all. They need the sled.
Yeah, it's good. It's
so
good.
Let's rewind. I want to amend my statements.
Yeah.
No matter how you identify, you need glutes.
I'm not even going to joke.
We're just going to leave it there.
You need some glutes.
Whatever pronoun you use, you need glutes. Moving on before we get banned. Number 6, body composition.
Yeah.
This is a big one. Body composition refers to how much muscle you have versus how much fat you have. It's traditionally thought that you either bulk, quote unquote, or cut, quote unquote. Sled is my cheat code that allows me to have the body composition I want year round. I want muscle, but I also want to be lean. And I play basketball every weekend, so I never want to be out of shape. My answer, sled, sled, sled.
Yeah. So I'll say this, and I think, again, a pretty simplified version of that, but think about the percentage of your muscle mass that your glutes and legs comprise of. Right. And I'm extending down to calves, right? In relation to your abdominal area, your chest, and your arms, right? Your legs are much bigger muscles than your upper body traditionally, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're talking about body composition, the more you build those up, the larger your lean body mass is, the higher your metabolism is, and therefore the more calories your body burns in a resting state. So yes, if you build up those muscles, and the benefit to sleds is that you mentioned earlier, it's something that you can do more than just once a week.
And it's versatile too, right? You can either go light and sprint.
Yep.
You can go heavy.
Yep.
And get freaking
strong. So you could literally do a version of some sort of sled workout every single day.
That's right.
And not burn out.
In fact, I do that now.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks to Kneesovertoesguy.
Kneesovertoesguy.
Yeah.
But even if you're saying like, hey, I enjoy training with a heavier load, then you can still change it up, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, yeah, I can go more of a sprint workout. I can go more of a strength, like heavy, like low volume, heavy weight, or high volume, low weight, whatever it is. But you can mix it up and still do it without saying, all right, because you can't do bench press 5 days a week, right?
Who says?
Law of diminishing returns
says you.
The law of diminishing returns says. But yeah, so I agree with that when it comes to body composition, just because it's such a large percent of your muscle mass.
Yep.
I agree with it.
You know, it'd be interesting guinea pig experiment, just if you wanted to do this, combine loaded carries and sled pushes and just do that every day and just see what happens. Or do that every day for a month and see what happens.
Or let's say, all right, you're really into it. Like, so I think of the dude that just ate, the dude that put on like 200 pounds?
Just ate
or 100
fast food.
pounds, just ate fast food,
yeah.
like loaded up and then lost it all.
Fit to fat to fit, that guy?
That guy.
Yeah.
So if you are super committed and say, all right, for 90 days, all I am doing is sled pushes or pulls.
Variations
and then
of
for
sled.
90 days, all I'm doing is some version of loaded carries and see what the body difference looks like. The hard part is how do you build a baseline?
Yeah, I might do that. I don't know. We need to think about that.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. So you're saying a 90-day window of only loaded carries? You don't combine them?
No, because then it's somewhat cheating your body composition. So if you're still doing like heavy shoulders and upper body stuff, like you can still change that. Whereas like, we're just going to do sled, because you are getting some shoulder work if you're doing sled pushes, right? Yeah. You're definitely getting some shoulder work with loaded carries if you're doing like.
Well, no. I just meant. So the way I was thinking about it is I would push the sled or pull the sled, and then I would go into loaded carries, and that would be my workout. Yeah, but you're saying break it up.
One or the other.
One or the other.
Like, all right, hey, or loaded carries. Which episode wins? You know, loaded carries or sleds.
That's interesting. I think we need to do that.
Or we do it simultaneously, and we say, all right, you do it, and I'll do it.
Yeah, I like it.
I just don't know if I could commit to doing like sleds or loaded carries.
It get kind of boring. But and then lastly, mental toughness. Again, more anecdotal, but done right, sled requires the most exertion of any exercise relative to total time required. Simple but not easy, kind of like life. And that's how he rounds it out. But I agree with that. Put 3 45-pound plates on a sled, push it 50 yards and back, and tell me you're not tougher.
I would agree.
At the backside of that.
I would agree. So I do have an update. I did loaded carries today. I've been really focusing on that since our episode.
I'm doing those tomorrow.
And
when this rips.
And did a little combo where we did, because you talked about kettlebell, how the center of gravity, how it's different than a dumbbell. So I did 200 meters with kettlebell in one hand, dumbbell in the other, same weight.
Oh, wow.
And it switched. And you were 100% right.
Oh, wow.
The dumbbell
I totally guessed.
The dumbbell is way harder than the kettlebell because just the distribution of weight. Right. Now, the grip is a little bit different too. But you talk about, a lot of those points that we talked about on sled pulls, on the loaded carries, from a cardio standpoint, walking 400 meters with 140 pounds in your hands is a beast.
Yes.
Like, I was crushed. And there was another guy who's like an elite CrossFit guy, crushed with it. And you talk about mental toughness, like saying, no, I've got to get another 100 yards before I can set this thing down.
Yeah.
Like, talking about all of the benefits that he mentioned here outside of like your actual knee strength and all that stuff. But like loaded carries, y'all, don't neglect that. And sled pushes, don't neglect those either.
Yeah. I think, and I always hate these, if you could do one exercise, but I'm going to go down that road. If I had to pick two things, those two things would be because they carry the sled push and loaded carries carry over to so much in your day-to-day life, assuming you're active.
Yeah.
So again, that's Knees Over Toes Guy. Those were his words, not mine. If you want to know more as far as how to perform, go check out his YouTube channel, his pages, his website. It's a lot like the loaded carry where there's not really a way to screw it up. It's pretty simple. Yeah. You can go light and go fast. You can go heavy and go slow. You can do a combination of the two. You can pull it. You can push it. You can go sideways with it. There's a lot of different variations. Get creative. Have fun with it.
So funny story is my son would practice 2 days a week on a field out in the town that I live in. And every single Tuesday and Thursday that they're out on practice, because I'm doing the 75 hard, I'll get my get my second workout in. And so I'll run around the field while I'm watching his practice. Every single Tuesday and Thursday, the same dude is out there doing sled pulls for 45 minutes.
Really?
Every single Tuesday and Thursday. Every time I'm out there, and I mentioned something, I was like, there you go, get those knees right. He goes, man, knee health is everything, man. That's the only reason I'm doing this.
So he knows Knees Over Toes Guy.
He has to. I can't, because he's doing all pulls and he's not doing any pushes.
He's probably subscribed to Darren to the One Shot Podcast.
One Shot Podcast for sure.
And listen to that episode.
Yeah, maybe that's why he asked for my autograph.
It probably is.
I thought it was just because I was Luca's dad.
So anyway, if this is something that sounds interesting to you, Rogue Fit. Now there's probably a lot of. Just go type in Google sled machine or sleds, and you'll find it. But Rogue Fitness sells one that I have. It's called a dog sled. It's a little bit of an investment. I get it. It's I think $250, which is a lot of money. But my counter argument to that And actually what we're going to talk about tomorrow, negativity. The negative person says, that's so much money. The positive person says, think about how much money you're saving down the line on medical expenses because you're taking care of yourself
Loss
now.
of work because you're laid up after surgery.
I mean, think about, like we said, all those benefits.
What's the
your cardio.
What's the opportunity cost here if you don't?
That's what will you miss out on? No, but seriously, it is a lot of money. I get it, especially right now with the prices of everything going up. But again, small investment now for your overall health, so that you're not having to be on pills, you're not having to be having surgeries, your joints are healthy, all those benefits.
And
so
they have more affordable
it.
ones where it's just literally like a plate that you with a hook on it.
Yeah, there's more
hook
affordable ones.
TRX bands or straps or whatever. Yeah. There's ways to do it. So it's
just do it.
Or learn how to weld. Get some sheet metal and learn how to weld.
There you go. I bet you there's some creative listeners who can do that. So anyway, go out and get you a sled, reap all the benefits, do some loaded carries, reap all the benefits of that as well. Hopefully you guys enjoy the episode.
Yep. Look forward to next week talking about bicep curls.
Yes. We're going to do an entire scientific breakdown of what happens.
It's probably going to be a 6-part series about the benefits of huge biceps.
Do you prefer the brachioradialis or the biceps brachii?
Biceps brachii, 100%.
Okay. All right, cool. Me too.
You were trying to trap me there. You were trying to trap. I saw through your tricks.
All right, guys. Hope you have a good rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow.